And let's get to college football. We have a lot of our guys. We have Big Joe Capper back joining us. We have a lot of our college football guys excited. Tell me what you think about last night's big game between the Irish and Louisville, and are we going to be able to take advantage of the public's perception after seeing that game? Are we going to be able to get value on Notre Dame because of how they looked in week one? And are we going to get value fading Louisville because they looked pretty good at home in week one? How do you feel about what you saw last night?
So that's a lot of questions, Jim. Let me start with this as a concept, all right? The public does not affect college football lines. 90% of the public's on a team not going to move the line a half point. College football lines are basically entirely affected by wise guy money. And you're going to have shops that are going to shade their lines because they are dealing with the public far more than the wise guys. But nobody is moving more than a half point off a market number at this stage. And the market numbers are absolutely set by sharp money. So when you're saying, well, the public saw this last night, what did the public see? I thought both teams looked good. I came out of last night liking Notre Dame and liking Louisville. It was a situation of like, oh, the Irish, what'd they do? You know, the Irish missed some tackles and they ran into a quarterback who can make some plays. You know, the first couple of drives for Louisville, very impressive. Then Notre Dame made the defensive adjustments and there wasn't, Louisville wasn't getting the big plays anymore. And they weren't able to march down the field. So I'll give the Irish defense impressed me, even though they got hit a couple times, punched in the face early. From an offensive standpoint, look, Ian Book looked as good as I thought he was going to. Notre Dame's offensive line got the job. They were able to run the football effectively. They were able to throw the football effectively. Positive. There was nothing but good for you. Notre Dame didn't cover the number, but I'm not downgrading Notre Dame in my power ratings off of the performance last night. Not even close. From the Louisville side, what did we talk about yesterday? We're like, the reports are all Louisville's can play. Everything out of camp is positive, and we came out last night, we saw they can't play. Is the defense still dicey? Yeah, it's still very dicey. And let's not forget that off of last night's showing. It was a miserable defense last year, and Louisville's defense last night wasn't exactly shutting down Notre Dame at the line of scrimmage. Pass made the same kind of mistakes he made last year. Bad mistakes, the kind of mistakes the quarterback can't make, the fumbles, the intercept, the mistakes in the red zone. That certainly stood out to me. But at the end of it, in a sense, Louisville stood toe-to-toe with Notre Dame. I'm certainly not going to downgrade Louisville off of last night's performance. I thought it was good. And I bumped my Cardinal power rating. Not declined it, bumped it, even though they lost the game. Well, they did cover the spread. That had a factor.
Yeah, it was very, very enjoyable to watch. And Book did exactly what I feel like he's going to do moving forward. He's a game manager. He stays out of trouble. That opening drive was classic Book to me, where, making moves with his feet, but not able to make big plays with his arm. Looking forward to break those two teams down as we move forward. Well, let's first talk about Tennessee BYU. Now you talk about wise guys moving the market, not the public. Certainly the perception of Tennessee is that they are a bad football team. Do we see a bounce back from them this week?
So Tennessee faced last week. They faced an opponent that ran a unique style, and they weren't ready for it. And they defensively, there were all kinds of breakdowns. That being said, the reaction to that loss has been pretty dramatic. I mean, we're seeing 3.5. You tell me one position on the field where BYU has an athleticism edge, where BYU's got the better athlete, maybe tight end, not much. All right. We saw very clearly when BYU played Utah. Utah's not loaded with skill-position talent and speed. They have a solid defense. There wasn't one receiver for BYU that got open all game. I mean, they had no one who could break a tackle, no one who could get open in space and make a big play. And you're going to need some of that to go to Tennessee. And for all the angst of Volunteer fans after that loss, and the sky is falling, and the SEC stinks this year. No, it doesn't. Tennessee will be fine. They've been through a bunch of coaches. There's been a lot of transition. That's not been a program that has been stable, but it's not a disaster either. Tennessee's not going to fall apart. They're not going 1-11 this season, and this is an opponent they should be able to beat. So I like the Vols minus the points at home. I think the price is very cheap. I laid 3.5 out there now. I still think that's a cheap number. And then when you look at the athletes on these two teams, Tennessee grades out as a double-digit favorite. But the market's concerned about the Vols' mentality. I don't blame them. Tennessee might lose this game. If they don't come to play, they could lose the game, obviously. But I think Tennessee's a fair bit better than BYU, and I'm expecting them to show up and play.
So am I. But right now, it's not from our chat right now. People backing BYU. Big Joe Capper says taking BYU. Vols are trash. Christopher Clementini, BYU plus the points. Let's move over to UCLA. Let's move out west. UCLA only laying 7 to San Diego State. What are your expectations of UCLA this year? And is that a nice spot to back them this week?
Sure, and UCLA is going to be a different story than Tennessee. But I want to go to those comments for a minute because they really stand out to me. Because it's not people saying, I love BYU. Look at how BYU matches up with them. BYU's got playmakers. It's all, well, Tennessee stinks. Oh, look what happened to Tennessee last week. The worst way to handicap is, this is what happened last week. It's not about what happened last week. It's about what's going to happen this week. So I would encourage you, if you're looking at Tennessee, Tennessee stinks. They're terrible. That was last week. Maybe they stink this week, and there's a rational reason that they're going to stink this week. But you can't look at last week's performance and say, that's Tennessee this whole year. That's a garbage team. Maybe they will be. But if you ask me which of the two teams is more garbage after week one, BYU stands out on my list. When it comes to the UCLA Bruins, look, remember what we heard. We heard all summer, this offense is ready to roll. They're going to, this team's going. Watch out for UCLA. And then what happened in the opener? Mediocre quarterback play at best. At best. Bad quarterback play mostly. Pace wasn't there. Protection wasn't there from the offense. Defense couldn't get off the field. It was the exact same UCLA team we saw last year. Okay. For all the Chip Kelly does this. I mean, honestly, when's the last time Chip Kelly had a good season at anything? Was it with the Eagles? So you say, am I ready to lay a touchdown with UCLA? I am not ready to lay a touchdown with UCLA. San Diego State offensively isn't pretty. All right. This is a dink and dunk, and let's see if we can get 3 yards in a run and 4 yards in a run. They don't have playmakers, and that concerns me here with the Aztecs. Concerns me here a fair bit with San Diego State. But from a defensive standpoint, they're not going to do – UCLA is not going to do anything that San Diego State hasn't seen. They're not going to be fooled by Chip Kelly's spread. The athletes aren't greater than anything that – this is what San Diego State does. That's what they've done for the better part of the last decade plus. Is they hang tough against good offenses because their defense is there every year. I can only take the Aztecs here. And look at the total, 45.5, 46. They're telling you UCLA's offense isn't going to work this week a whole lot better than it's going to work than it worked last week. And I don't disagree with that assessment. I don't want the Bruins laying points right now. Not even maybe.
Paco Healy is liking the under. Is that too low to go under, or do you feel like that's still in play?
No, that's not. I don't know how San Diego State scores. They're going to have to, they're dry. They're going to have to do 14 play drives. It's not like they've got a bunch of big playmakers on offense. The dearth of playmakers for San Diego State. And that's a team, I'm telling you, the last, if they'd had one guy who can break a tackle and get to the end zone, they'd have been that, competing for some of these, for competing to be the best non-Power 5 team. That hasn't been the case for the Aztecs, but they don't have anyone that can, I haven't seen anyone that can break tackles and make plays. And I believe in their defense. So I'm with you 100%. I would not play that game over. It'd be under or pass for this better.
Let's stay out west. We have a situation with no quarterbacks in Stanford, USC. How do you see everything playing out for the Trojans in this spot now with their injury to their starter?
Come on, Jimmy, let's have some fun with this one. What do you say? You want to have some fun? Because here's a situation where who do you trust less? I don't know. I know this. I don't trust USC to cover chalk as favorite with the backup QB. It's not even close. I really don't. And JT Daniels, who is now out for the year, obviously it's a very negative situation for USC, being that their projected second stringer quit the team, their projected third stringer got hurt. And now it's a true frosh, and USC survived and advanced past Fresno last week in the second half. They were able to run the football down their throats. They're not going to do that against Stanford. Stanford did. I mean, it really stood out. Stanford's offense couldn't do anything against Northwestern. Their defense was a dominant unit on the field. The Wildcats did nothing. And everyone's complaining about the bad beat for Northwestern. And it was a bad beat. But Northwestern was not the right side in that game. Stanford was the right side in that game. And Stanford screwed up. It's what they do. They're not a team that's people are very excited about as chalk. But as a dog, we like David Shaw. And I certainly don't want any part of laying points with USC. Let's see how this line bounces through the week. We still don't know whether Costello is going to play for Stanford, and without him, obviously they too will take a significant drop. But it's an a priori situation for me. Won't, never right now lay points with USC under Clay Helton. That has been a disaster for bettors in recent seasons, and I don't see that changing necessarily here.
Maxwell Smart, we have some questions coming in, and feel free to ask the questions. I want to stick with another live dog situation, that being Fresno State against Minnesota. Fresno State, our Matt Randall, who is famed here for his taint play of the day, which is the under 9.5 in the Royals game. That's his taint play of the day today. He thinks Fresno State money line a must bet come this Saturday. What do you think about this spot, Minnesota, Fresno State?
No, I'm looking at the Gophers in this game. Fresno impressed me in one sense in the loss at USC, and that was their resilience. And that's the way that team's been under Tedford. But they're not the same team they were last year, and we saw it. McMarion didn't make mistakes. He didn't ever put Fresno in a bad spot. I don't see that this year. I don't see the level of quarterback play. And the defense had major losses. It wasn't like they were shutting down the Trojans. Minnesota, let me start with this also. Minnesota's good. All right. You want a point spread sleeper out of the Big Ten? Look at the Gophers, big time. And they're a team that hasn't gotten a lot of hype. You ask even college football fans, name me two players in the Gopher. Most of them can't name one. No superstars on that team. Who's the coach? We remember it's P.J. Fleck and what he did at Western Michigan, but it's been 3 years now. People don't remember, Fleck, that guy, row the boat, what? This program is being built. Minnesota's a good team, and in the trenches, they can push Fresno off the line of scrimmage, and that's the big issue. I think the Gophers will be able to run the football. Looking for quotes for Minnesota. I'm looking for a quote saying we're focused. If I find one, I'll bet the Gophers. And -3, I think that number's a little bit cheap.
A lot of people backing that assumption right now. Tormino backing everything you said there with a very physical team, should be able to control the line of scrimmage. Black Rogue saying, coach for Gophers, third-year recruiting. He's a motivator. Give me Minnesota. Black Rogue says, very physical. Agreed. Guru Sportsbet says, Minnesota all the way for me. I don't like Tedford at all, even when he was at Cal. Nice stuff there. And then our Maxwell Smart, our college basketball expert. He's just spectacular and put so much energy into our show. He is a big backer of UConn, and he is a big question in the chat. Bookie Lover Q saying, love it, Teddy. Eric Nisbet says, respect, Teddy, my man. Let's talk about this spot for our Maxwell Smart. Illinois at Connecticut. Illinois opening up at -18, already at -20. This total opened up at 65 and has dropped all the way down to 61.5 at BetOnline. Does Connecticut stand a chance here against Illinois?
So it's an excellent question. And hey, anyone that, when someone's doing the work in college hoops, we'll answer all their college football questions, because college hoops is so much work. And the people that do it and work hard at it every day, we give them nothing but respect year round. That's what college basketball is. With Illinois and UConn, let me start with this basic point. You cannot make money betting the very worst college football teams. Go look. Go back 10 years. Look at all the teams that finished, 3-9 or worse. None of them make money. None of them. You might find one team out of the group that, they were undervalued and they went 7-5 ATS. The very worst teams do not cover spreads. The markets don't catch up with how bad they are. And I'm never looking for spots to support teams like UConn. Never. Now, something might jump out, and all right, you got to play this, but the bottom feeders are bottom feeders. And it's not like the NFL where, the markets always catch up, and by the end of the year, there's tons of value on the bottom feeders. In college football, the bottom feeders are just the bottom feeders, and you'll see at the end of the season. Go look at last year, look the year before that, all the really bad teams, the best one's going to be 7-5 ATS. And a lot of them are going to be 2-10, 3-9, 4-8 ATS at the end of the season. So in general, I'm not looking to support teams like UConn in spots like this one. All that being said, if you think I'm laying 20 points with Illinois on the road, you're crazy. No, I'm not laying that with the Illini. No, I don't trust Illinois in that price range. No, I don't want any part of a team that doesn't know how to close out games to lay 3 touchdowns with them on the road. So if I had to play the game, I could only take UConn. I don't want UConn. It's an easy pass for me. It's the type of game that I look at for 2 minutes and say, I'm done with this one. There's 50 other games to look at. Let's move on to the next one. So I won't talk you out of UConn. But I'm damn well not going to join you. Good luck with your wager.
Well, let's move on to a couple of big spots I want to talk about. We can keep touching on them all week. Let's start with West Virginia, Missouri. Missouri opens up at -11. Money coming in on them. There's been a 3-point swing at BetOnline all the way to -14. This is another spot where the total has dropped from 65 to 62.5. Is Missouri the right side? Do you agree with this market move?
So let me start with this and saying that I had Missouri last week and I laid the points with them at Wyoming. Okay, I laid 17.5 with Missouri in a game that they lost. If you watched the first quarter of that game, you thought Missouri was going to win that game 59-0. They came out 3-and-out for Wyoming, touchdown Missouri, 3-and-out for Wyoming, touchdown Missouri. Looked good early. And then from that moment, 2 things happened. 1, Kelly Bryant started making stupid plays. And 2, the Missouri defense started getting gashed by an offense that doesn't have playmakers. And that really concerns me in this point spread range. Now, every college coach will tell you, you see it year in, year out. Where does my team make the biggest improvement? Between week 1 and week 2. But Missouri's got a lot of stuff to clean up. They were bad. Wyoming earned that win, and Missouri gave it to them in a lot of different ways. Kelly Bryant got benched for the Frosh. And look, Trevor Lawrence won his national title. We can understand why Bryant got benched. Bryant made some head scratching. I mean, real head scratchers in the Wyoming game. And that was on the road. That was in Laramie in front of a hostile environment. But it wasn't 1 and it wasn't 2. It was like 4 or 5 different plays. We were like, no, what? Ah! And the one thing you never want to do as a bettor is have that fake. That's a screenshot for you. That's the face you don't want to have when your quarterback is dropping back, especially your quarterback who you respect and who won a national title and who you think is going to be making good plays for you. Now, returning home, much friendlier environment, but the defense they're playing is going to be pretty good too, which makes me a little bit reluctant to lay with Missouri this week. That being said, West Virginia for me is a one-way team. I don't want any part of the Mountaineers. When you're talking about switching systems after running one way for a long time, that first year, especially that first month, it's a big transition. And I do not look at the Mountaineers as being a bet-on team. So I guess if I had to play it, I'd look at the Missouri side. But I want to see Missouri do something right. I backed them last week and I was not pleased, obviously, with the result. So before I get back to the window with the Tigers, I'm going to have to see them. I'm going to have to see Kelly Bryant not make the, bevy of mistakes he made a week ago. And he should do that at home. Might be the right spot for Missouri. They're going to run the pace. So maybe. Tigers are pass, but it's a pass for me.
Tigers or pass, a pass. Why don't we stop to one more big game here? We talk about, we have the SBR, sportsbookreview.com SBR odds page up at all times. And we love that BetOnline is first to the market. We know that they do limit you when they come out first to the market. And here with this Nebraska-Colorado spot, they opened up Nebraska at -7 at +110. Pinnacle did not. Pinnacle opened up at -4.5. So if you look at Pinnacle, there's not been this major move on Colorado. But now across the board right now, if you want Nebraska, it's down to -3.5 at Colorado. This total has gone up from 61 to 64.5 at BetOnline. Pinnacle still hanging in the 63.5. Number 24 ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers at Colorado. How do you see this one banging out, Teddy?
So what I love about BetOnline is not just that they post early, but they post opinion numbers. So you will find legitimate off-market numbers at BetOnline. You won't find them in many other places. So, you talk about opening up an account. That's a place where if you're betting offshore, you want a BOL account because they're early and there's variance. As a bettor, that's all you want is variance. You want to be able to say, all right, if I want to lay, I'll lay 3 here. If I want to take, I can take 3.5 there. That's the absolute goal that any bettor is going to have when it comes to why do you have more than one out? Why do you have more than one sports book? And I encourage you to use that SBR odds page and open up as many. If you have one account for $100, open 2 for 50. If you have one account for $1,000, open 2 for 500. Open 4 for 250. Open 8. Open 10 for 100. I mean, literally, that every half point makes a difference. I was yelling. I wasn't yelling, but I was getting on Jimmy yesterday for that. He lost Texas State by a half point. I'm like, you can't do that, Jimmy. And I felt bad afterwards. I'm like, I shouldn't really rip him because there's a lot of guys that have that problem. However many outs you have, double them. Your goal is double them. Get twice as many, and then double them again. And then you don't lose games by half points. You get some of those wins instead of some of those losses. I forgot. Nebraska, Colorado. So BOL posted an off-market number early. And then the markets came in, Westgate here in Vegas opened 5. Pinnacle opened 4. Bookmaker opened 3.5. And the markets have just been going down on this one. 3.5 for Nebraska. The over money makes a lot of sense to me. If we saw Colorado's offense last week, and again, it was Colorado State defensively, they weren't very good, though Nebraska wasn't very good defensively last week either. But you have a senior quarterback who can make plays, who can make throws. You have a balanced offense for the Buffs. They should be able to move the football against the Cornhusker defense that wasn't great last year and wasn't great in week 1. That being said, you've seen Adrian Martinez play. This guy is scary at QB, and it's not like the Huskers lack skill position talent or speed. And Colorado's defense was pretty awful last week as well. 2 teams whose defenses I don't trust, 2 teams whose offenses look pretty good, 2 veteran quarterbacks playing behind experienced OLs. Man, that makes a whole lot of sense for the over for this bettor.
And the over has been climbing. Black Robe says Nebraska gave up 30 last week. I'll take my chances on the dog at elevation. And a lot of people grabbed Colorado. Black Robe grabbed them at +4.5 2 days ago. It's on my board. Great spot there. Great work. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Teddy covers. Now, as we move through the week, do you start sharpening your focus on a couple key games? Like, are you going to say by, Wednesday, Thursday, you say, I really like this spot? Is that sort of how you cap college football? Because with the quantity of games, it's extremely difficult not to be overwhelmed by it. How do you handle the quantity of games? And is it by doing stuff like looking at that Illinois-Connecticut game and just saying, look, I want no part of it? And then you look at all the games that you want to...
That's the whole key, Jimmy. The whole key is going through the card, and I'll go through the whole card twice. But, before I'll do it once I go through the whole card Saturday night when I'm making my numbers for Sunday. And I'm going through the box scores, obviously, and making my power rating adjustments based on what I've seen, what I've read, and what the numbers are. And then I'll go through it again on Sunday night, obviously, where I'm going through every single game and spending at least a little bit of time with it. But the goal of that Sunday night is eliminate this game. I'm not looking at that. Hey, I got no interest. There's no way I'm playing this one. And I take more than half the card, and I'm done with it. That'll leave me about, on anywhere between 15 to 30 games where I'm really going to dive into. And that's where I'm going to make the majority of my wagers from. The vast majority of my wagers from what I call my short list, which, sometimes can be 25, 30 games.
That's perfect. I love hearing that. What a treat it is to have you on our show every morning. There he is, Teddy Covers in the house, coming to us live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Teddy Covers, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Teddy_Covers. We were just tweeting out this show just a few minutes ago, and obviously tons of info there all the time. Teddy_Covers. And Jimmy, I'm enjoying this, man. But me and you got to argue more. I'm going to fight with you about something. It's too easy so far. We're just, just agreeing.
Yes, and with college football, I gotta let you take the lead. There's not going to be a ton of disagreements when we move through and as we go along through the season. I get some more comfort with some teams I may battle with you, but it's because of college football and needing your expertise on the sport. If we were talking NHL, MLB, stuff like that, if Porcello throws a gem tonight, I'll let you know about it for sure. I'll let you know about it for sure.
Fair enough, buddy.
Much love. Thank you so much for joining us, Teddy.
Cheers. Have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching.